and back to the question about the curriculum, that's what we're missing in this district. It's a true vertical articulation with aligned resources and so forth for a true scope to get kids there. We want kids entering high school knowing that they have the opportunity to go through AP Calc. And they have the requisite skills to do it.
I don't want that goal ever lessened.
No, we're
won't
hard
affect
for
my
that
kids.
goal.
But this is for future kids.
Yeah.
You know,
I can only say from my point of view, you've heard me say this, I do believe the curriculum is a key. I think the way you do it, to answer Mrs. Perry's question, that's why we need to create a vertical and horizontal curriculum so that we make sure that the child who wants that has the opportunity, just as using world language. If we've got a youngster who wants to be able to take the AP French or Spanish, we've given them the requisite backgrounds to get there. And the way you do that is by having a curriculum that has that kind of focus to it. You know, the old story, it's always easy to know how to get somewhere if you start at the end and go backward. Well, we know our goal. So now how do we get them there? It's a ladder. And I think that's really the key. And as I come back to my point, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask for your help in it. I need to start to sell to the community because this is something I was used to in my previous life. We had an implementation line in the budget. And we got the fiscal fathers to accept that and not to immediately look at that and go, oh my Lord. They accepted that we needed to do it. They accepted the idea of curriculum as an ongoing revision process and that monies needed to be put aside, much like we do for technology. We need to start to sell that idea. We need to change the mindset, if you will. Because I think sometimes that's why these things fell off the table, if you will.
And can I just clarify that line item in the budget is not for Learn to come in and write the curriculum.
I understand that.
That line item was for an overview, an analysis, supervision, for lack of a better word, of our staff to be doing the work. So, and that was, throughout the whole school year, not just the summer. It was for pretty much a director of curriculum, which this community had some big problem with. I don't know why. But the question Lisa asked and the question you're asking is a director of curriculum. That's what we all need. And for some reason, people stood up and said, no, I'm not going to vote for the budget if there's a director of curriculum in there.
So where I want to go with this, I just want to go over this. We're looking to get math and ELA ready for board acceptance by late next year, April or May. We're looking to see how we can restructure existing time to accomplish these goals. We're recognizing that curriculum revision is an ongoing process. We're looking at summer work. We are looking at trying to get this implementation costs in the 15-16 budget. We're looking at a timetable for what proceeds after we get through these first two. We want to look at, and I think the board will take this up and put it in our minutes, at the use of maybe delayed openings or something like that so teachers can have time to work. And the superintendent will look at the notion of a curriculum council. That's management. That's her role. That's fine with us. How she chooses to do that is perfectly okay with us. But I think that's kind of where we're going. Does that sound reasonable to folks? Anybody? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I just had two more things. First, I guess the whole calculus thing, pre-calc and AP calc. So, again, the message, I just think sometimes the message doesn't get sent properly. Because there are kids taking AP calc and there are kids that are doing well. So maybe the message should be, we want more kids ready to do that instead of we want kids to do that. Because right now, I know 6 kids that are going into either calculus or AP calc in next year. So it's not that the curriculum hasn't gotten these kids ready, because the curriculum has gotten some of the kids ready. I'm not sure where the holes are that it hasn't gotten more kids ready, but it certainly has gotten some kids ready. So again, I think sometimes the message is just a little bit off, and to say that our curriculum hasn't allowed kids to go into calculus is not right. And then the other thing is just with the data teams. I understand how important it is to have feedback on how the kids are doing and what you can do to make things better. But every time when you talk about the work that's involved in all of this data, I just want to make sure that everyone remembers that students aren't just a conglomeration of data. There's so much more. Everywhere there's so much more. And that's, I think, one of the parents that I talk to, that's one of the things that they worry about, is that it just becomes so data-driven that they forget about that it's a person and a student whose future we're all in charge of. And it just doesn't always come down to numbers. So I just think that that's an important thing to always keep in mind, too.
If I can, just real quick, and then I'll adjourn it.
Pardon me?
I'm always reminded of Robert Browning's line, that man's reach must exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven. If we don't give children the opportunity to aspire, and that's not just AP Calc, it's in every discipline we offer, to the highest level that a high school can offer them. Doesn't matter the course. We need to say that. You have a chance. You have that opportunity if you want it. And it's our job as a Board of Ed and your job as a community to support that to the degree that you can. So I'm not just talking about AP Calc. I'm talking about whatever the highest level of language is, or English, or science, or whatever. Kids need to be given that because, frankly, aspiration is what we should be focusing.
Right, and as part of that whole developing the whole child, is that why some of those people are missing that opportunity, some of the kids, because is that the piece that's missing? What is not having them aspire to AP, French or something, when the person that took French alongside of them the whole time? I don't know what the answers are to that, but I'm not sure the answers are in the numbers.
Ironically enough, the data-driven piece, pre-K-12, actually helps you raise...
I agree that it helps.
Those students, so you have more of those students who are ready for your education.
I completely agree with that, but when you hear it, it just is so focused on that sometimes that's, again, the message.
I think, remember something, and numbers drive to only a certain point. That is only the start of the conversation. But that is correlated with pedagogy and curriculum and observation and intervention and all these things.
And it sounds like what that group is going to do is to try to integrate that. I'm not sure if I got the right message.
I think that's what teachers try to do on a daily basis. But you remember, curriculum, and I don't know however else to say it, but curriculum has soul. It has heart. It literally beats and it provides opportunity for kids.
And anything with a soul and a heart you have to take care of.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But how to take care of them is largely at times predicated on knowing where they're faltering or where they need to be enriched.
Right.
And without data, it's just based on assumption and preference at times. And it is about the whole child, and data is an element that can be applied accordingly.
I completely agree with that.
5 human beings.
Okay, I got 2, so I'll take you second, because Mrs. Perry was first, then I'll take you.
Okay.
Okay, please.
Can you just revisit NWEA again? What specifically, why are they coming here again?
They're a testing agency, essentially, not just testing, but professional development is associated with it. And they provide the universal screenings tied to benchmark assessments to let us know how kids are doing. They're nationally normed, the reliability stat on these are very high.
So it's related to Common Core, correct?
It's a line now, yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
assessment.
Elementary
Right,
school
it's, right,
has
it's another assessment.
more screenings.
Yeah,
than
for instance,
K-12.
the elementary school, just through state function, has, screenings that they do.
Right.
The secondary level, it tends to tail off for myriad variables.
Is it computer-based?
Yep.
Okay.
And
And what's the cost associated with it, do you know?
we know, but we're still in talks with them.
Negotiations.
It's based on licenses and so forth. It's not an overwhelming cost.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to address Mary Beth's concern about data. I have this unit that I'm doing in Excel where I took a piece out of the SBAC test, the sample test, and it has to do with redesigning cereal boxes so that you have less cardboard and you use more volume? It's a great question. I really love it. But I'm sitting here with a group of kids, and I have a couple of kids that are absolutely stuck in understanding what ratios are. So after the class was over, I went and I looked at, their benchmark assessments, and I saw that these children were, in the 25 percentile. That knowledge really did nothing for me in terms of how I was going to interact with them the next day. I sat there with them and scratched my head and thought of every way till Sunday to try to illustrate how ratios work in this situation. How do you know which box is the most efficient? And, it would be nice if we could look at a piece of data or look at an IEP and say, yeah, if we just simply do this and deliver this, it's gonna solve the problem. But education is so much more complicated than that, and so I understand how data has its place, but in the end, it was sitting with these students for a long stretch of time, for 10 or 15 minutes, going over and over and over with them before they started just to see a crack, in it. So I get it, Mary Beth. That it's.
I have nothing against data. I hope
Yeah. No, I get it.
Perhaps we need to broaden our definition of data, because while data to some extent is numbers related to benchmark assessments, data is observational, it's anecdotal, it is relationship. Data is a lot of things.
Running record.
It's a lot of things. It's not just the numbers. So when we say data-driven decision-making, we're talking about everything we know to be true about a child from multiple, in multiple ways to make decisions.
It doesn't sound that way.
And then using the data, that's the key. Being educated to use the data in a way that actually leads to student improvement.
We good? Just to let you know that our next meeting, because I'm going to keep the same pattern, which is 2 weeks after a board meeting, will be on March 25th. And because of time constraints, everybody's agreed to, we're going to do it at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. And if we have an audience like this every week, every month, I love it. I think we really need to get behind curriculum. I do thank you for your attendance, and we'll be getting the monitors out and everything else. Motion to adjourn.